All right, everyone, it's official. James Gunn has announced the new plan for the DCU, Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. I thought it'd be fun to go over my opinions on each of these projects, as most of you who truly care about what he has to say have probably already gone to his Twitter, his Instagram, or seen 90 other videos from everyone else in the world of comic book movies. And today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, GamerSupps. Use the code COMICS at checkout to get yourself some fun energy drink flavors that are a little less chunky than their competitors. Or you can get yourself a waifu cup or waifu merchandise like the hoodie that I'm wearing right now. If you want to support this channel, I would greatly appreciate you buying your products through them using our code if you enjoy that type of product. And thank you for your continued support. Now let's get into what Safran and Gunn actually said about the upcoming plan. Now their overall strategy is to use Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman to prop up other characters and kind of build out the DC universe using, as he put it, their diamond characters. And that's going to be kind of like pushed forward in Chapter 1 of what he's doing. As far as bringing back old actors or what is in canon and what isn't in canon, it's a bit weird and muddied still. He didn't clarify. We do know for a fact that Gal Gadot and Henry Cavill are out, which I don't fully agree with because I feel like they didn't get a lot of time to really just bring that character to the forefront. No Captain America kind of a situation. It's a safe assumption that Ben Affleck is out at this point. I don't know why anyone still thinks he's still in. I know they haven't officially said it, but he has been out since like 2018. Like he hasn't been a part of this for a very long time. It sounds like the way he was describing it, certain old properties are still going to be considered canon. There's a project in here that he referenced. It's called Paradise Lost, and it's going to tell a Game of Thrones style storyline on Themyscira, the homeland of Wonder Woman. It's going to tell all about the tribes, all their battling, and he wants to do a very dark and gritty Game of Thrones style show with that. But in the article related to the video he made, he specifies that this will take place before the Wonder Woman movies, which is a safe assumption. That means that the Wonder Woman movies are still in canon. It gets even worse when you start considering another project he talked about called Waller, which I am excited about. Waller's going to be a spin-off of Peacemaker. So that means that Peacemaker is still going to be in canon. And since we have a Peacemaker Season 2, it's a safe assumption that it's all in canon. It's going to be the actress Viola Davis leading a new team, basically as Waller, doing a Waller thing. If it's anything like Peacemaker or the Suicide Squad, I'm going to be excited about that. But then in the video, he also referenced like where this split might be happening. So he says that we're having Shazam and then we're having The Flash. And he specifically stated that The Flash is going to be the reset of the DCU, which means that after that, we're also getting Blue Beetle and Aquaman. Does that mean that they're in canon? Does that mean they're not in canon? If the reset is The Flash, are they just airing the movies out of order? We don't 100% know yet. And since there are rumors about Jason Momoa coming back as Lobo, that means that Aquaman could be done, or it could be continuing. We don't fully know at the moment. But it sounds like everything pre-Flash, other than some select series, are going to be technically before the reboot. So Wonder Woman looks like it's going to stick around. Peacemaker looks like it's going to stick around. Safe assumption is that the Suicide Squad is going to stick around because another one of his characters, Weasel, is going to be appearing in an animated series voiced by the same actor. So there's an animated series with the Bride of Frankenstein. I recognize two of these other characters, the robot with the helmet and the guy who's like translucent and burning, but it's called Creature Commandos. And it's basically going to be a cartoon that features a lot of the creatures of the DCU, which is interesting. I don't know how I feel about this because I've never been super interested in Frankenstein, and the rest of these characters are not like primary characters that I'm excited for. But there is a chance that this could be very interesting. I'm holding my hype for it until I actually see it. He also talked about lanterns. So we had rumors that Greg Berlanti, the guy who made all the CW shows and quite a few of the HBO Max shows, was going to be headlining a Green Lanterns show. And it was tossed around. It was going to be a Guy Gardner. It was going to be a Jon Stewart. It was going to be something else. It all got thrown out. They're doing a new version of Lanterns, which is going to feature Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan as two cops. It was described as being a space cop, true detective kind of a thing. These two detectives trying to figure out crimes. What's interesting is when he showed it on his Twitter video, is he showed the artwork for Green Lantern Earth 1. That's what he showed on there. We're going to cover it here on the channel soon, which is kind of like an origin story to kind of reset Green Lantern in the Earth 1 universe. And he also showed Jon Stewart with the yellow lantern symbol on his chest. Now, I barely remembered Jon Stewart in the Earth 1 book, and he might have been in the Earth 1 book 2 that I didn't read yet, but it's interesting that they're kind of implying they're going to be taking that origin for Green Lantern. If you're curious, the Earth 1 story kind of makes it more spacefaring than what we've currently got, because he's an actual astronaut and stuff like that, if I remember correctly. The book came out like 5 years ago. I've got to reread it. anyway, if you're interested in it, I do highly recommend checking it out. I do remember enjoying it, and we are going to bring it to the channel within the next couple of weeks. Next up, the big question, why did we get rid of Henry Cavill? We got rid of him for a movie called Superman Legacy. Now, I'm still up in the air about replacing Henry Cavill, but considering Tyler Hoechlin did a great job as Superman, I'm not against us putting in a different Superman in the role. I just hope it's worth getting rid of Henry Cavill for. That's what I'm hoping for. If the acting is incredible, then okay, cool. At least that was worth it, but I don't like what they did to Henry Cavill. But anyway, this story's not going to be an origin story. It's going to be focusing on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage and his human upbringing. Now, what's interesting is the image he threw up on screen on the Twitter video is actually All-Star Superman, which is the end of Superman's life. So I guess we're going to take the concepts of All-Star Superman and we're going to put them into an origin style story, but not truly be an origin story. Going back into the obscure, he announced The Authority as a movie coming out. Now, this is a team that ran with Wildstorm, and I don't know anything about Wildstorm in general. It's just one of the things I never got into when I was a kid, and since it's been repeatedly attempted to be rebooted, I've never really followed what's going on with it. So we're talking about true obscure stuff with The Authority. It's from an Image line that got picked up by Jim Lee because he created it and he brought it over to DC. And they've tried multiple times to bring up Wildstorm, Authority, Grifter. It just doesn't seem to stick. So I'm excited that they're going to be putting them into the movie universe. That means that they might actually become something bigger and like we'll all actually go over it. Next on the list is that Paradise Lost one I talked about. There's not much more to say about it other than apparently it's going to take place before the Wonder Woman movies, which if that's to be believed, it's going to be, those are still in canon, even with the reboot. So, and then we have the interesting conniption problem with the Batman. So the Batman is going to be what they are dubbing Elseworlds. An Elseworlds movie is a movie that exists in the DC universe, but not in the DCU, not the mainline storyline. So the Batman is getting a sequel, The Batman Part 2. Both of those are going to be in The Batman universe. Joker's also getting its sequel, and that's going to be in the Joker universe. And he specifically mentioned that Teen Titans Go is also going to be continuing, and I looked into it, and apparently it's a big cash cow for Cartoon Network. I wasn't even aware of that. But that means, what are we doing with the DCU proper's Batman? Well, that's going to be The Brave and the Bold. It's going to be based on Grant Morrison's Batman Reborn run, and they're going to be basically telling the storyline of Damian Wayne in Batman. Now, we had a lot of debates about this one over at Absolutely Marvel and DC about whether or not this was a good idea or a bad idea, and I'll link that video down below. But in my opinion, I like this idea. I've always felt that Damian's probably the best Robin, and that there's a reason before you snap at me, because he's actually Batman's son, and it makes sense that he would become Robin. Because I like Dick Grayson as Nightwing. I like Jason Todd as Red Hood. I like Tim Drake as Red Robin. I like these roles that they've taken on. And also, even though we're starting with Damian Wayne, that doesn't mean we're never going to get to Nightwing, Red Hood, Batgirl, or Tim Drake, or Stephanie, or any of these characters. It just means that we're going to jump to that point in Batman's life. Now, I like this idea because it clearly separates the Batman, which is a detective approach, early days Batman, from The Brave and the Bold, which is going to be an older, grittier Batman with Damian Wayne being trained as his Robin. And we're also going to finally get back to a Robin position in the movies that isn't Chris O'Donnell. So that's going to be great as well. And I'm really hoping that while this first movie is going to establish Damian, it's going to imply Dick, Jason, Barbara, all these characters, and we can start maybe getting movies about them as they expand on the Bat family. Because he specifically talked about expanding the Bat family and starting it here. Going into another obscure, and I actually didn't know this. I looked on the Twitter and people said they didn't know who this was, and I guess it would make sense if you're not a comic book fan. Booster Gold is getting an HBO Max TV show. And that's incredible. If you don't know who Booster Gold is, he comes from the future, comes into the past, he's got all of his space tech, and he uses that to convince the past that he's a superhero. But he's a complete jerk, full of himself, and he just causes problems for everyone. So Booster Gold's a great superhero, and I could see that being a great show, and I like that he's just getting a centric show on him. And then another shocking one for me was Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Now, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is an incredible storyline written by Tom King. Came out like 2 years ago, and apparently that's going to be the basis of the new Supergirl movie. Now, first off, that's awesome, and you're going to get that video here on the channel in a couple of weeks. We're already working on that one. But what I really find interesting about this is, so it might just be a rumor, but the 1984 Supergirl movie is supposedly the reason why WB would not cast a female lead in a female-led movie for almost 20 years. They tried again with Catwoman in 2004, and their continual argument was, at this time, supposedly, through rumors, that women can't hold a movie down. So they're just not going to cast them and not do women-led projects. So I find it funny, almost like a stab in the face, like after Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman and all these other movies that have come out recently that are incredible, that they're like, you know what? We're going to do Supergirl again. We're going to bring back Supergirl. So I'm excited for this to see what they're finally going to do with Supergirl and hopefully make it good. And then the last thing that he has announced is a true horror movie based on Swamp Thing. And that's going to end Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Swamp Thing is one of my favorite superheroes. We've already picked out the Swamp Thing story we're going to bring to you on the channel. It's going to be Rot World. So we're going to talk about Swamp Thing, Animal Man, and then Rot World. It's an incredible storyline if you haven't read it. But Swamp Thing getting a movie to close out the Chapter 1 is just an awesome way to really dive into obscure characters, but people know who Swamp Thing is. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with that. He also stated that that's not everything, just what he can tell us about right now. So they probably have a lot more stuff in the works and they don't know what they can get out in Chapter 1. So then they went on to talk about what they're going to be doing with the actors and actresses that are still officially on, the ones that haven't been fired. And he basically states that they're not getting rid of everyone. If the new people fit the roles, they'll be cast into those roles. And that's what he's claiming with Henry Cavill, that he didn't pick Henry Cavill as his Superman. He didn't cast him as his Superman. Henry Cavill was never fired. He was just never cast in the James Gunn movie. I know how that sounds, and to me that just sounds like for whatever the reason he didn't want Henry Cavill. But he went on to state that a lot of other individuals will be continuing in their roles in the DCU. When questioned about Ezra Miller, it was brought up that he may stay or he may not. Right now, he's going to be the Flash in the movie. Following that, if he follows on his journey of healing and getting, committed to his recovery, they are fully supportive of that, and they will have the meeting of whether or not he's staying on the role after he has completed his recovery. So they're basically stating, like, don't ask, we don't know right now. That's what they're basically claiming with that one. He also wanted it known that it's not going to be the Gunverse. He's trying to get different writers and directors in these roles so that each of the movies can stand out. He expressed that the reason for this is because he understands superhero movie fatigue, and they're coming in strong with a bunch of movies. So he wants each movie to stand alone as a different type of movie, hence the Swamp Thing horror movie. And since James Gunn can't write everything, he's going to get different actors, different directors, different writers to come in for the different projects. This is exciting because one of the things I like about what the MCU's done recently is change the tone of a lot of stuff. As much as we all hate how the She-Hulk show ended, and I called it a C-tier sitcom, they made a C-tier sitcom. Like, it felt different from everything else in the MCU. So it's interesting that coming out of the gate, he's just going to make a bunch of interesting other kinds of projects that feel different. Another example is if you watched Disney Plus's Werewolf by Night. That is nothing like an MCU project, and I loved it because it felt different. So if we're going to get a lot of things that feel different at DCU, that might help them stand above everything. Gunn basically stated that the DC universe is pretty messed up. He was referring to everything going on with Zack Snyder's multi-movie universe sputtering halfway through, their attempt to reboot it with Joss Whedon that didn't work, several changes in studio leadership and ownership, and then he also explained, like, there was also the Arrowverse running alongside this the whole time for an entire decade. He said no one was minding the mint. They were just giving away IPs like they were party favors to any creator who smiled at them. He then goes into his history with comic books and his parents, and I guess he was so into him that his parents sent him to a psychiatrist at one point, so they had to like bond over comics to kind of get to know him better. So it's an interesting story if you want to read it. I'll link it. It's the Hollywood Reporter report is where the whole interview happens if you want to go through that, or you can go to his Twitter where he put up an entire video on the situation. Lastly, I'm not sure if it's in here or if it's somewhere else, but Safran said that the issue with Batgirl is that it was just unreleasable. Apparently the Batgirl movie was so bad, that's why they shut it down. He straight up said that. No more, theories or whatever. He just straight up said, look, the movie was bad. We couldn't release Batgirl. I'm kind of glad that someone's finally making those calls of being like, hey, this isn't good. We got to stop damaging the DC brand, which is exactly what they said Batgirl would have done. But overall, that's everything that was announced today, and that is everything that is in the article that I found interesting. I'll link the article down below. I'll link his Twitter down below if I remember to do it. A lot of you like to point out that I say things are down below, and then I forgot to put it there. But what do you think? I'm going to be covering a lot of the stories related to what he's talking about very soon, so I hope you're excited about that. I am. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time right here. Also, check out our Absolutely Marvel and DC longer discussion where we also live react to his video announcing a lot of this. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Oh, real quick, I thought this was hilarious. He tweeted this at 12 noon, basically Eastern is when he tweeted this out. If you were paying attention to the internet, CW's Gotham Knights tweeted out their trailer at the exact same time. Like, how desperate can you be to get people to watch your terrible CW show? Look, I don't care. The Flash I can watch. It's got bad seasons. It's got good seasons. I love the Superman show. That thing's great. But Gotham Knights, that's just a terrible idea from the get-go. And you're going to try to tack on to the DC announcement. Be like, oh, by the way, Gotham Knights is coming out soon. I thought you guys might get a kick out of that. Follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian if you want to just chat with me about things that we find on there. It's stupid. It's all stupid.